Welcome back to another episode of Innovation Minutes Live. I am Dan Gonzalez, and I'm joined by my co-host Anna Akbari.
Hello.
Today, we are talking about progressive company cultures.
Yes, and the state of work and how we work and where we work is something that we have long been very interested in, both in this particular format and also in the work that we do. And we've identified a couple of companies in the past that are really standouts, like Zappos, for instance. In a recent article that was published by a former employee from Trader Joe's, really sparked this conversation. And as anyone who's ever shopped at Trader Joe's knows, those are some happy, very happy people that work there. And you might be thinking, these people work at a grocery store. Why are they so happy? And so, the article brought up a couple of different things that we think are in part attributable to that state of contentment that you might experience in the aisles of Trader Joe's. It goes far beyond the discounts and the deals that you're getting.
Yeah, and I think, as the article kind of surfaced, and what I think a lot of people don't know is that Trader Joe's stores are actually run as independent, I don't want to say franchises, but independent entities. So there's not like a rigid hierarchy like a Safeway or something that reports all the way up a chain and then, dictates orders all the way back down. It's more like one store has a manager, which they call a captain in Trader Joe's parlance, and then there's a bunch of mates, and then there's like the crew people.
Mm-hmm.
But the way it works is like there's this layer of middle management, which sometimes we've been guilty of harping against. But I think in the context of Trader Joe's, it's interesting because they all kind of share a common workload, and it's done in a way that's not dictated to them. It's what works for the people actually working in the store.
Yeah, and you're right. We are not generally fans of the manager model, but I think that Trader Joe's does a great job of demonstrating how tweaking it just a little bit can still make it really effective.
Yeah.
Because it's not a flat organization as some companies, progressive companies, are aiming to be. And so I think there's still some merit for having some leadership and hierarchy.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons for that, or if I can speculate, is that in the retail sector, you typically have a lot of very young, very inexperienced, entry level people working. It's grocery. That's what it is. That's where a lot of people, their first job was bagging groceries or being a cashier. So it's recognized that to have a flat organization, you need experienced people. Not everybody's equipped to be able to be their own manager, especially when they're entry level. So I think the model kind of fits the industry in this case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think also at Trader Joe's, because they have great perks like health insurance, you have people who are maybe struggling artists or in school or, pursuing something else in their lives. And this is a great way for them to stay afloat and still be responsible and take care of themselves and work in a nice environment as that sort of stepping stone to something else that they're working toward.
Yeah, and it's interesting because and people have worked there. I know people have worked there, and they seem to take that with them. So in a way, they bring a little bit of the Trader Joe's culture to wherever they go next, and they kind of view things through that lens. So I would think in terms of like a larger societal impact perspective, people who start their careers with this kind of experience can help make the world a better place in a lot of ways.
Well, I'm reminded of the book Tribe, that really is focusing more so on a kind of military perspective of what tribal belonging does to us. And I think that even the way that they have the stores and the team structured, you really do feel that you're a part of something in the same way that one would if they were in armed services or in another group. And that sense of belonging, and also knowing that people have your back. And that's something that they mentioned in the articles. There's all these examples of people self-sacrificing voluntarily internally within these teams to take care of their other team members. And for those that work at maybe some less progressive or less warm and fuzzy companies, that might be very hard to imagine. And so, for leaders who are thinking about how they can transform their company into one where that's how their employees interact with each other, I think it's not as complicated as you might think it is.
Yep.
I think it really comes down to small things like giving them the freedom, the flexibility to move around their schedules as they need to, and then people step up.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, we can both attest to the fact that, the best days you have at work when you work as part of a large organization are because of the people you work with.
Yes.
And
yeah.
like you said, it doesn't have to be a whole lot more complex than that.
No, it really doesn't. So tell us what you think. Does your company fit into the sort of Trader Joe's model, or do you feel that it is oceans apart from that? And if so, why? And what do you think goes into that special sauce that makes some place a Trader Joe-esque type place to work? And how can we replicate it? Leave us the comments, and we will hear from you next week.
Yep. See you next week.